most people that I speak to have no idea who Dr. Gosnell is, and I find that disturbing.
The thing that attracted me to Gosnell was the fact that I'm always drawn to true stories. This story was just so unique and so dark. I mean, there were just so many aspects to it that I thought were important, and I really wanted to jump in and tell it.
I think that it's important to tell the story of a terrible doctor that killed babies and killed a woman. You know, that's the story.
I read the script. I thought some of this had to be dramatized.
I don't know, I've never been in an abortion clinic before.
When I first read the script, I wasn't sure how much was 100% true and how much was sort of Hollywood fabricated.
And action.
Hey, Woody? Man, you gotta see this.
He was taking patients in a disgusting clinic, and they were ending up with STDs and getting sick. And it's grotesque.
And then it got even worse when I got on set and we were shooting in Gosnell's clinic, and we were looking around. There was, the cats running around, the bags of medical waste, the red ones, the blue ones, and the cramped corridors, and all that disgustingness that was inside the clinic. I was like, okay, we're Hollywoodizing this a little bit. We're ramping it up to 11, if you will. And then we were shooting a later scene, and there were pictures of what I thought was our set inside Gosnell's clinic. And then I was informed these are real photos that were taken inside the clinic, and I was positive they were from our set. And that's when it really hit me that, wow.
All right, listen up. We are looking for anything that looks like drugs or paraphernalia.
Philadelphia Police Department, we have a search warrant.
What does that smell?
Man, you gotta see this.
Cutting.
It's a good shot. It's a good shot. That's gonna be in the trailer.
Depending on the kind of character you're playing, do you want to look like them, act like them, take their mannerisms or whatever?
I'm the real assistant district attorney who brought the investigation against Kermit Barron. I'm Christine Wechsler, an attorney from outside Philadelphia.
The thing that was remarkable about Christine was her straightforwardness and her energy to take on this case that maybe she wasn't politically on the correct side of.
It's a lot of pressure to be playing a real person that your character is based on, and you try to make it your own, but at the same time in the back of your head you're thinking, is this what she would do? Is this what she would wear? Is this how she would say it? And
what I love about Sarah Jane Morris's performance is that it's so honest and it's so emotionally raw. I mean, she really allowed herself to go to very powerful places and emotional places, and it allows us to go with her.
I was aghast at everything that I was reading. You can't believe it's real, but at the same time you're going, oh my God, this is real.
I can't wait till you see it and have a reaction. That's what I want. I haven't had a chance to even talk to him about this, so I'd love to hear your reaction when you do see this stuff, how much of it feels close to the real deal and how much of it, came out of Phelim's, mad brain.
It really was a team effort to keep the authenticity in it. As a director, there's only so much you can do. It's really a team effort, and they did a great job. I
honestly, reading it and seeing it, all that stuff, you're like, this can't be real. That the idea as a filmmaker or an actor, it can't be real. It's so hideous and frightening. When Alfonso and I were looking at the jars with the baby feet in them, we were just like, is this normal? Like, I don't know. I've never been in an abortion clinic before.
Everyone here has asked, did this really happen? Did that really happen? Because it would seem like it's fantasy or fiction, and yet, no, your movie is based in a really difficult reality, and it was a really terrible thing that all of us who investigated it endured.
Well, Jim Wood came to the set, and we all got to meet him, and just a remarkable guy, just a really likable, personable, positive person.
Like I said, it was the tip of the iceberg until we interviewed the other workers there who actually divulged what was really going on as far as Gosnell allowing these women to give birth, then killing the babies by snipping their necks.
Woody is one of my favorite people of all time, and I I can't tell you enough how incredible an individual he was, because he was the only one who championed for Karnamaya Mongar, for this nameless victim who he alone recognized, had been so terribly wronged.
So we had to go back, and in the freezer, there were the fetuses that were taken back to the ME's office, and they had to wait till they thawed out, and there was some more evidence of what his operation was about.
And he did it against all odds. I mean, nobody wanted to hear that something terrible had happened to Karnamaya Mongar. Nobody wanted to hear that a doctor who performed abortions could be acting so recklessly. And he was dogged in his efforts. I mean, he worked tirelessly. And he's a guy he's a drug guy. I mean, he's a narcotics officer who works undercover. So it was really just remarkable that he went to such great lengths to expose things and fought so tirelessly for someone who he was the first person to treat her like a person and an individual, not just some nameless, victimless face. And it's only because of Woody. I mean, he is one of the greatest people on the face of this planet. I mean, he's salt of the earth. He couldn't be a better person. And I'm convinced, I know that that's the only reason this story ever saw the light of day, is because of Woody.
One of his big things is he would take the ultrasound machine and show the girls, all right, hold it in a certain way, and it'll show the baby looking like it's only 24 weeks, where it could have been 32 or 33 weeks old. And that is what really, that's one of the...
So he would adjust the baby age on the ultrasound?
Yes, he would hold the scanner away in a certain way. And
to make it look as though it was...
within the legal limits.
Oh, wow.
Yes. And that's one of the questions I asked him, and he was composed. Like he was good with Karnamaya Mongar's death. Because he said that he was the one who gave the demo, and she just must have had a heart attack or something like that. He makes excuses for everything. But adjusting the ultrasound, he must have realized at that point we were talking to the workers and they were giving him up basically. And
that's a little too specific.
Well, he dropped his head, his face turned ashen white, and he started talking about his friend, who was Tiller from Colorado, who was
George Tiller,
Kansas. I'm sorry, George Tiller, and he brought him up, and I think he was getting at that he wouldn't do real late-term abortions because he would just refer them to Tiller. But he did. It was like the wind taken out of him.
So I'm grateful that you're telling the story, because I think it's an important one. I mean, I know it's an important one.
I'm totally blown away by everything that's going on, and I hope that it turns into a big success, which it should be, because this is a story that should be told, and the cast of characters is definitely there to make that happen.
Ms. Goodman, how many times did you see babies that were breathing?
We had this witness on the witness stand, and she talked about having changed her mind and going back to Gosnell's office and saying, I want these things out of me. I want you to stop. I want to have this baby.
So I told him I changed my mind. He got really mad at me, told me it was too late, said the procedure couldn't be reversed.
But the laminaria had already been placed in your cervix, right? So what did you do?
My name is Tessa Watley. Yeah. I'm playing Viola Brown in the Gosnell movie.
She had asked a question when she was in the procedure room getting ready for a procedure, which was going to take a few days. She'd asked him, what will happen to my baby? And he had said, we'll burn it. And she went home that night, and she had begun the process, and she couldn't live with herself. She couldn't reconcile that image, that happening.
She was 32 weeks pregnant.
She was 32 weeks pregnant at the time. And she was big. You look pregnant when you're 32 weeks pregnant. Yeah. And she couldn't live with herself. And so she came back and said, take these things out. I want to stop this. I don't want to go through with it. I want to keep my baby. And he said no. So her cousin took her to the hospital next door, very close by, and they assisted her, and they tried so that she wouldn't go into labor. And she didn't. A couple weeks later, she delivered a premature baby girl. And I don't know how I found her, but there she was all these years later to talk about this experience she had had with him. And at the end of it all, she had a 5-year-old. That baby girl lived, and she was well taken care of, and she was 5 years old. And that day that she testified, the little girl had started kindergarten. And so when this information came out, the grand jury erupted in applause, and it was one of the best, most poignant moments in grand jury. I mean, it made it made me cry, it made her cry, and it really affected, it was really powerful, but that's how the grand jury was. I mean, they cheered. This little girl lived and, she was starting kindergarten that day. It was it was great. It was great. It was a great moment.
But the crazy thing about that story is that Tessa, as it turns out, after we'd already started filming with her, we wound up learning that the same thing that the character happens to the character in the movie, the character that she plays, happened to her.
I also was young and pregnant at once. I went in to actually abort my baby, and the nurse had let me hear my son's heartbeat. That's also something they're not supposed to do, but she let me hear the heartbeat of my baby, told me that was my baby's heartbeat, and said she'd be back to go ahead and do the procedure. So as I laid there for about maybe 4 or 5 minutes, she came in and said she'd be right in, and I laid there and I just started crying and decided it was something I couldn't do. I couldn't kill my babies.
And that was one of those things. It was like, okay, God must have led me there. There's no other explanation. There just isn't.
If you have that opportunity and you decide not to go along with the abortion, don't do it. My son has been so much joy to me, and it's like when I look at him, I just can't believe I was gonna kill somebody so precious. That's a whole generation of me, and I am so thankful to that nurse for giving me the opportunity to change my mind and have my baby, and it's been such a joy. There's days that I just lay in bed and watch him sleep. I'm so happy to have him. So if you have that opportunity, don't kill your baby. Have your baby. It's hard, but have your baby. It'll mean everything to you. Don't kill your baby. Have your baby. Sorry.
I'm grateful, really, because for a long time I wondered if anybody would ever really care about this story. And being here is so incredible, and it's so remarkable because it's obvious that people care about what happened to young women and to infants, and about the quality of care that that they were receiving or not receiving in Philadelphia. And I wondered if anyone would care, given that this was such a gruesome story and so much of it was so incredible, and it was hard work to bring it to the light of day. And the fact that you're here making this movie and you're spending so much time being invested in it is really just incredible for me and really touching. I'm grateful for it.
Kermit Gosnell is perhaps the most prolific serial killer in American history.
You better win.